Hey, happy Friday, everyone. I like that music. I hope you heard that music. It's a little startup for you. Well, it's a beautiful day here in Indianapolis. Autumn has sprung. It's not spring, but fall's here. It's 67. It's going to be a glorious weekend. Have a great weekend wherever you are. I hope it's nice weather as well. Well, let me give a quick shout out to President Donald Trump and the rest of the world here for peace in the Middle East. Way to go. If all goes well, hopefully Monday, the 48 hostages, 20 of which are still alive, should be coming back from, well, as you know, the war in Gaza is pretty bad. So, hey, that's good news, right? Hopefully there will be lasting peace in the Middle East. Yeah, we got a pretty good show here today lined up. Let's see. What we're going to do is a couple of little birthday shout outs, a little rest in peace shout out, and a couple of quotes that you'll hear talking about sexual orientation conversion therapy as well. So let's get started, and a little tidbits about my book, The Sub. But first, let me give a rest in peace shout out to the original. I call him the original Superman, Christopher Reeve. You guys know Christopher Reeve. Let me give you one of his quotes because, wow, this is a good one. So many of our dreams at first seem impossible, then they seem improbable, and then when we summon the will, they become inevitable. I mean, you know Christopher Reeve, right? Christopher Reeve, he died at the age of 52. That was 20 years ago today. He had a 34-year acting career. He was an activist. He was an actor, director, did a lot of things. Raised in Princeton, New Jersey. I want to give a shout out to everybody in Princeton, right next to my Trenton, New Jersey, where I'm from. And I did live in Princeton back in the day. So 1978 was the first Superman. Then he went on to make three more. So he did a total of four, right? From 80 to 87, there were three sequels. So as you guys know, he had an equestrian injury, horrible event, which paralyzed him. It broke his first and second vertebrae, and he was paralyzed from the neck down. So rest in peace, Christopher Reeve. You are always missed. You were awesome actor and great Superman for sure. All right, how about this? I want to give a couple of birthday shout outs. Yesterday, actually, October 9th. Today's October 10th, 2025. Yesterday, there were two birthdays yesterday. One of them was a rock and roller who I was a big fan of back in the 70s and in 1980. One of my top 10 songs. You guys know Jackson Browne turned 77 yesterday. Hey, happy birthday to Jackson Browne. I mean, 1972, you guys remember Doctor My Eyes? Or 1977, Running on Empty. That was an album. That was the name of the album. That was a good song. But my favorite song of all time, Jackson Browne, which I listen to almost on a weekly basis. I look it up on YouTube. It's Hold On, Hold Out. That was from 1980. You know, 1980 was that crucial year for me, 17 years old. So you remember a lot when you're that age, right? That's an awesome song. 8 minutes. So it was much longer. They came out with a single on that. I think it was like a 12-incher. So, hey, congrats to Jackson Browne, 77 years old. All right, what else? What else was a birthday yesterday? Here's one for you. So I lived in Las Vegas twice. I spent, I think, 6 months first time, 3 months the second time. Wasn't a huge fan of Las Vegas, but I will say the best thing about Las Vegas was the Hoover Dam. No kidding. Have you ever been to the Hoover Dam? It was built in 1936, right during the Great Depression. The Depression was 1929 to 1939. Took 5 years to build. They finished 2 years ahead of schedule. So it's 89 years old yesterday because it began transmitting electricity to Los Angeles. Today, it services 1.3 million people. There's 1 million visitors a year. Let me tell you something. If you've never been to the Hoover Dam, you must go. It is truly a wonder of the world. I mean, it's so clean. You go down. I don't know how far down you go, but you go pretty far down. And let me tell you, you could eat off the floor in that place. And these turbines are like humongous. I can't even tell you how big they are. But it's 726 feet tall, 1,244 feet long. It's taller than the Washington Monument. I love the love Washington, D.C. I think that's why I like Indianapolis so much, because it reminds me a little bit of Washington, D.C., because there's so many war memorials here. Beautiful city when you drive around at night. The street lights are on. But anyway, the Hoover Dam, they used enough concrete. Well, they used concrete enough to build a road from San Francisco to New York. No kidding. Let me tell you, I love the Hoover Dam, and you guys will too. So go check out the Hoover Dam. What you do is, when you get to Vegas, I think it's like a 90-minute. You take a bus ride, and they take you all around. It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's truly an engineering wonder of the world, without a doubt. You guys got to do that. All right, here we go. Let's give another. Oh, how about this? I keep forgetting our little whips here. I got to build in that little short whip between. Okay. Well, everybody knows Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King. This is one of his quotes. The function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character. That is the goal of true education. All right. So you guys know I taught for 5 years as a substitute teacher. Here we go. All right. The sub, right? You want to take a look at what goes on in these inner city markets. Well, let me tell you something. Not a lot of learning, or let's say education, because character, and what's the definition of character? It's the mental and moral qualities distinctive to an individual. Well, we need to build more character in these inner city markets, without a doubt, because education is a two-way street. So it's not just the teacher teaching, and these teachers do a great job. I mean, if you know what they go through on a daily basis, the abuse that these teachers take, trust me, it is a very, very challenging job. They should be paid more. I also believe that 2 teachers should be in every classroom. They're teaching 36, 40 kids a class. So, I mean, it is great for society if you can be a substitute teacher to give back, which is what I did. I had a really good time doing it. So the book is lighthearted. It's also gritty, but it's also realistic, and it tells you what goes on, because a lot of these kids, they're not there to learn. They're there to go eat. They're there to go hang with their friends. They don't want to learn. Well, we got to change that. We got to inspire them, but more importantly, we got to adapt the curriculum that's going to work for them in their markets, because most of these kids, I'd say 95% of the children that I taught over 600 days, I don't know, thousands of kids, they don't leave their neighborhood. No, they don't. They don't venture out. So let me tell you a little fun story about the ones that do want to learn. My favorite was kindergarten. Kindergarten, chapter 6. By far, it's the most fun. Well, first of all, there's always 2 teachers in the class, which is great because you need that support. But those kids are happy, right? It's their first entrance. If they didn't go to pre-K, they're there for the first time. They're happy. It's not about, camaraderie at this point. It's they want to absorb it. It was so much fun. I had such a blast. But let me give you a little story, which is in the book, about a little girl called Lily. Now, that's not her real name, but now, this was during COVID. So this is a COVID era book, guys. It wraps around COVID time because I did teach. So I kind of got lucky. I got assigned to this class. There's a main teacher. I was the backup or the aide. And all I really needed to do was everything was on Zoom. So I had to watch. There was a couple screens, right? I don't know how many kids. There was probably 24, 25 kids. But I had to make sure they were all paying attention, doing their work. Well, every Friday, happy Friday, love Fridays, because every Friday we would do a drawing. We would watch this video for 10 or 15 minutes, and they would color this picture. And then at the end, everybody would hold up their picture, and the teacher would snapshot it and give it out to all the parents. So I'm new at this, and I'm oh, this is so cool. They're doing the picture, and I'll just trade cryptocurrency. So I'm not really paying attention, and I'm trading, and I'm all of a sudden they get done. It's the first day they get done, and then teacher says, "All right, everybody, hold up your picture," and all the kids hold up, and this one girl, Lily, who By the way, she wore different colored glasses. She was like the best dressed kindergartner that I've ever seen. She wore dresses. She would spin around and dance. She had on glasses every week. Every day was a different color, and she didn't wear glasses. So, I mean, wow, this it was adorable. So she says, so everybody holds up their picture, and Lily, like real close. They get real close to the screen. They get in there, and she's like, "Mr. T, where's your picture?" And I'm like, "Oh, I gotta think on my feet." I go, "You know what, Lily? You know, Mr. T couldn't do the picture today because Mr. T doesn't have any crayons." She's like, "Silly you! Why don't you just go buy some?" And everybody started cracking up. The teacher's like, she just called you out, Mr. T. I'm like, Lily? Well, I was never unprepared again. I went out and bought the biggest box of crayons, like, the 64 box. So I came back. I'm like, hey, everybody, I got my crayons. I never missed a picture. So I still have them. I think I did 16 of them. No kidding. All right, here we go. Let's that's one of my fun stories. All right, how about this? All right. So if you guys know me, know any about my background, you go back to 2007, I did this reality show called Trans-American Love Story, right? And I know a lot about transgenderism, a lot of friends, and I have friends who have children that are transgender. And hey, I'm cool with anything, right? What you do with your life is your business. But if that's the way you're built, and you could read about that in some of my other work, but so be it. That's good for you. But this concept of sexual orientation conversion therapy. All right, let me give you a quick example. This has happened yesterday. No kidding. I meet people all the time. So yesterday, I'm out there kicking the bricks, I call it. I'm taking my book around to different bookstores. Matter of fact, I got one already. I went to 12 bookstores in the last 3 or 4 days. One of them's doing a reading for me in February. But so anyway, I go to this bookstore, and the bookstore is closed, but there's like people outside. And next thing you know, there's a couple of people come up to me, and then we start talking. And this one person says to me, anyway, we got talking, and I don't know how the concept of transgender comes in, but this guy says, I'm trans. And at first I was like, oh, cool. I said, so are you male to female or female to male? Because I'll be quite honest with you, I couldn't tell. And that's another story in my book, what you read about my interaction with a kid. And I said, I'll be honest. She's like, no, I'm female to male. I'm like, that's awesome. I said, you don't mind me asking? I said, how old are you? She said, I'm 28. He said, I'm 28. I said, great. I said, so when did you? She says, oh, no, I just started like this year. She goes, I knew by the time I was 18, but I wanted to wait. I waited 10 years before, starting hormone therapy. And I said, oh, that's awesome. I'm glad you waited, because I'll be honest. I said, for me, my belief is I don't really think that anyone under the age of 21 should be altering the body, right? If you want to, hey, if you're going to end up doing that, that's your business, that's your life. Do what's right for you. But wait, why can't you live with it for a little while? Because again, let's talk about this. There's controversy about this conversion therapy. When you're altering the body, whether you're taking hormones, whether you're taking steroids, no doubt it's going to have a long-term effect. Long-term, most likely negative effect, which is what I believe. But the controversy centers on the documented ineffectiveness, they say, the long-term harm to patients. It conflicts with scientific consensus, religious and ideological beliefs, right? Well, hey, they're your beliefs. Hey, I never got the COVID shot, but hey, if you did, that's your business. It's your body. Hey, me, another day, another workout. My foundation, which, by the way, got another B+ today in the gym. Haven't been able to get the A's. I haven't been able to do the 20, but I'm okay with it. I'll take the B+. But so there's all this controversy right now. Like, what should people do? What should doctors do? But again, it's your life. I know individuals that have multiple surgeries. I know one person that had maybe 12 surgeries over the course of 10 years, but that's your business, right? But I don't believe at the age of 21, that's when you could drink, you're legal, then do whatever you want. So doctors should not be allowed to be altering things prior to that. That's my belief. That's my opinion. But again, what you want to do with yourself, your body, that's all you. But I like the fact that this person that I met, this guy that I met, waited 10 years. Said, "Hey, I wanted to live with it. I wanted to kind of really kind of experience it." And I have a good friend, by the way, who she's been trans for probably 20 years, and she said, if I can go back in time, I would just be a cross dresser because the hormones kind of messed her up. But any event, it's your life. Do what you wish, and your beliefs are your beliefs. But here we go, guys. Tola Talks number 195. So on Tuesday, it looks like I'm going to be doing this every Tuesday and Friday. I think that's a good little schedule till the end of the year. I'm going to start interviewing. And on Tuesday, I want to give a shout out to Guy Lamato. He's going to be coming in. He's a retired cop. Got a cool background. We grew up together. If you want to go to my Instagram, we took a picture together at my nephew's wedding. And I said, I got to get you on the air. He missed his calling. He should have been a stand-up comic. But Mott's, looking forward to talking to you on Tuesday. So, hey, everybody else, have a great weekend. Get your workout in every day. Another day, another workout. Peace.